We have a full roster, 32 of the baddest characters around. Your Tekken mainstay may not have made it into the game yet, but in due time, they might. But in the next 8 years plus of Tekken 8 we have ahead of us, I could only wonder who's going to approach that velvet rope and find they've made it onto the guest list. Hey, let's take a look. September 9th, 2021, Insomniac Games revealed a teaser trailer for Wolverine. And since then, I've heard rumors of a 2024 release, just like our friend Tekken 8. The respective release dates coincide with getting people interested in both products in the same calendar year. Even if the release dates are further apart than predicted, Wolverine has been in fighting games before. Marvel vs. Capcom comes to mind as it is his fighting game mainstay, but that coupled with this crazy all-inclusive Tekken 8 system, I think the beloved anti-hero, claws and all, against Yoshimitsu's sword and Victor's sword and Victor's gun and Nina's guns and Lee's grenades? What the f? And Bear claws. Delicious. Would fit quite fine with the rest of the cast. The Marvel icon would pull people into playing Tekken who never have before or have been ultra casuals in the past. The probability of this actually happening takes a hit in that Wolverine is a PS5 exclusive, just like Insomniac's knock out of the park Spider-Man 2, while Tekken 8 is on PS5, PC, and Xbox. But if Weapon X did make it in, might be a hint of an anti-hero theme for what is to come, as aside from Noctis in Tekken 7, the guest characters of Akuma, Geese, and Negan were a part of a villain theme. But if the right I's are dotted and T's are crossed, it might work like this. Hey, you get to play Wolverine in Tekken regardless of console. But if you want more of that bright yellow suit, you're gonna have to pony up for a PS5. A bit of a reach, maybe. Time will tell. But it would be an absolute blast to play Weapon X in Tekken 8. Just him doing this while saying this in a Tekken game would just be so dope. 8 years of absolute fun, non-stop. Guaranteed. In 1991, a young man seeks some good old-fashioned revenge against his father's killer in Southtown, USA. The American fighter, Terry Bogard. The poster boy of fighting game allegory. The martial artist Superman Punchmaker is not only an ideal fit for Tekken, but I actually suspect we see a glimmer of his Tekken 8 move list already in the game itself with this move here by Kazuya. Called, oh shit, called,
巨撃合追剣
yeah, that's it. Terry has a similar move or two. I really prompt you here to take note of how Bandai Namco has taken 2 steps back and then 1 to the side in order to sneakily embed some 2D into 3D Tekken without causing as much fuss as the last time they did this, like giving June projectiles that spark off the ground, similar to Terry here, and Claudio, who is the most egregious when it comes to projectile across the screen so far. And even he has to do at least one other attack first before unleashing Dreamcatcher Tattoo hell. But you see it's woven in there. Nina can do the same thing from distance. Like Claude, she at least has to telegraph the projectile with that first attack. Again, this is some sort of change, a step to the side, as it were. But Nina looks designed to shoot bullets within the confines of close-up attack strings, not full-screen projectiles. So when it comes to Terry, with all his Fatal Fury King of Fighters stuff, there is a large template of martial arts moves to draw from, and in a beautifully clever way, implement it into the Tekken system. Now what could go against his appearance in Tekken 8? He's been a guest character in other fighters. However, I personally don't think this is a deterrent from him being a part of Tekken. I rather think it helps his case. He's been a guest character in Fighting X-Layer in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I think it's about time the Lone Wolf made his way down Tekken Street, right at the 765 Club, especially since Bandai Namco is a developer of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Terry making the guest list, it makes more sense than not. Terry Bogard has always looked cool, has always been a charismatic good guy, which isn't the easiest thing to pull off. He fits into a hero theme of guest characters for sure, and I would absolutely love to pilot this character and do this move above everything else he could do in Tekken 8. So I wanted to throw a curveball at you guys, something outside of the box as much as Negan was, or in this case, over the wall. Last entry in my wish list, Eren Yeager or Captain Levi or Mikasa from Attack on Titan. No spoilers here, no worries, but having been lightly featured in Dead by Daylight, in Call of Duty, Attack on Titan, from what I can tell, has been able to break out of the normal anime watcher crowd, I'd say, and has become as close as an anime can be to a household name outside of Dragon Ball Z. I understand that the series is over, but it's still really popular, and the Tekken team would have to be creative in order to fit the ODM zipping around gear in the Tekken space. And that's something they seem to be rather enjoying right now, doing things different with characters like Victor and Azucena. Playing devil's advocate against myself, I found no direct involvement of Bandai Namco with any of the respective holders of Attack on Titan properties. Kodansha, a major publishing house of manga, has, as far as I've seen, no direct ties to Bandai, though Namco has been involved in adapting Japanese comics into games. In Wit Studio and Production IG are animation houses that have no trace of animating anything Tekken. It would be a new contractual adventure with all parties involved. Still possible though. However, Bandai Visual, now known as Bandai Namco Music Live, if I'm not mistaken, have worked with Production IG on Blood the Last Vampire, or at least that's what I could dig up searching around the net. So take that for whatever it's worth. But whichever way Attack on Titan would be added, this pick would certainly bring intensity to an already tense, war-torn Tekken world. Anti-hero or hero theme, I guess, depends heavily on which character is chosen and how old they are at the time. Regardless, Attack on Titan's popularity, bridged into a Tekken world, would bring in those who don't watch anime but watch Attack, and those who know about Tekken and have never played. It would be an off-the-wall, no pun intended, but yet historically expected, oddball, awesome surprise for Tekken. There have been, as of this recording, no Attack on Titan reps in any fighting game as of yet. It would be a form of gold for Tekken to get to that first. And now, the one a lot of people think not only is possible, but should have already happened. Tifa Lockhart, Final Fantasy VII. When did it start? I don't even know. But I do know, for more so than not, it'll be like a surreal dream. The fanfare of wanting Tifa Lockhart in Tekken 8 will be over if she just walks through that door. She's a brawler, No energy spheres or fireballs to worry about implementing here, just straight up knuckle sandwiches. Though a lifetime ago, Tifa was featured in at least one fighting game before, called Irjigurgies. This game leaves a bit to be desired. I'm just saying it is possible to put her in a fighting game. If it can be achieved back in the Dream Factory in 1998 and distributed by Namco, then it most certainly can be done now. Tifa has also been featured in Dissidia, a Final Fantasy fighting game, say that 10 times fast, where she actually has some pretty killer moves. Just like the hard-hitting awesomeness of say films like Final Fantasy Advent Children or the Flare of the FF7 remake, which would have her feeling right at home in this new, even more particle effect friendly Tekken 8. Fighting game fans search high and low throughout the characters on a roster for signs of personality in and outside of the character's fighting style. Persona, or perceived persona, is important for those who play fighting games. Tifa, noted for her leadership and supportive nature, pretty much your best friend who will, at the drop of a hat, jump into the middle of a bar fight with you. And then lecture you after it, apparently. Tifa is a hero all the time, every time, and would be a part of a hero theme. I cannot overstate how beloved she is as a character, with spots of vulnerability that make her more real and more loved. And she will throw hands. There's a mod for this character in Tekken 7. She is number one, if not a not so distant second, on most Tekken players' list of guests, and because of that, the long talk of her to make it into the Tekken Club may come to a close. Fans are talking, just like any other fandom of any other video game, but we can never quite tell if we're being heard until it's all said and done. But it would be quite the gift for Tifa Lockhart to join Tekken. She would be overpowered for sure though. Just don't bring back this attack, but rather use this one and we'll be fine.
This is Snake.
The man is no match for the legend, but he did shoot down a Hind D with a rocket launcher. No spotter and no chaser. Though he does enjoy his cigarettes and that sweet, sweet mullet. I'm talking about the man that makes the impossible possible. Solid Snake, all-around warfare political philosopher and destroyer of a mini Metal Gear. CQC, already in Tekken 8, now made possible by the creation of Victor. From what I can tell, he is not, as I mentioned previously, firing his guns from afar, but rather one part of an attack string. Solid Snake could work much in the same fashion. A trank dart to put an opponent asleep on their feet, giving you lots of time in plus frames. Metal Gear infiltrated the minds of most, if they were alive back then, in the entry Metal Gear Solid, released on September 3rd, 1998, and we've been collectively rolling with Foxhound ever since. And since guest characters became a real bona fide thing in Tekken 7, to say nothing of the Snoop Dogg stage in Tekken Tag 2, fight fans have rallied for the man with infinite ammo, and an affinity of taking pictures of odd things.
Good.
To enter the King of the Iron Fist tournament. The inferior clone of a legendary soldier. I think Iroquois Pliskin fits into the anti-hero category due to his morally ambiguous nature, brutal methods to accomplish the mission, and a detachment and cynicism for even those that he works for.
Negotiations are all finished? By the way, sorry to disappoint you, but I did manage to smuggle out my smokes.
How did you do that?
In my stomach. Colonel, is there still something you're hiding from me?
And despite this, we'll still follow the mission given. Hard guy to know. Antihero for sure, in my book. That duality, put into straightforward, dispassionate actions, is one of the things I think makes Snake an ideal character study. That heaviness to his person. And if not for being able to play as him, we would certainly, if we otherwise knew his name, would know nothing about him at all.
With my personality, I don't have too many friends.
Instead, he is a shadow that we all know. Connecting some nodes to fighting games, Solid Snake has been in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Bandai helps develop Smash, Bandai makes Tekken, boom, Snake is in.
Otacon, who's the guy with the sword?
That's Link. He's the hero of Hyrule.
Perhaps it's not so simple, but here would be another opportunity for a realistic, down-to-earth fighting style for those Tekken players who like to keep things deadly but grounded in reality. An opportunity still in that Snake has only been in this one other fighting game franchise, which is like for kids, right? It's not like you could just reach out and snap necks. Oh shit. Mario though, bro? Jesus Christ. But to see that CQC on PS5, Xbox, or PC, Solid Snake would be a sight for sure eyes for sure. I'm sorry, guys. I had to. But the implementation of tactical espionage action would quite literally change the game. I know for sure he'll be able to get so low to the flow that Lei Wulong, Eddie Gordo, and professional twerkers will collectively blush. Why it might not go down, Solid Snake, as well as Metal Gear, of course, is the brainchild of Hideo Kojima. But the intellectual property is owned by Konami, who is currently working on a remake of MGS3 entitled Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater for next gen and is expected to be released sometime in 2024. If anything, it sounds like it ups the chances in arbitrary amount, sure. I mean, this is all speculative, but the hype train for the character in one game would help sell the character in the other, if Snake is a guest. With all the down-to-earth list of attacks I've stated he might have, the devs could very much go the other way with him and give him that great utility belt, or materializing nanotechnology, stinger missiles, chaff grenades, smoke grenades, stun grenades, grenade launcher, rocket launcher, landmines, mine yours, mortar rounds, C4, claymores, 5.56ers and pineapples, solar gun, handguns, shotguns, railgun, Gatling gun, sniper rifles, assault rifles, destructo disc, stealth camouflage, or the greatest handgun ever made. The Colt Single Action Army. 6 bullets, more than enough to kill anything that fork. And oh yeah, access to Metal Gear as a raid art. But don't worry, no swords. Snakey no likey no damn swords. Though there's no telling what this man can do if only you give him a cardboard box. Ultimate rage art. And what's one more unique character with a healthy dose of masculine brooding? I mean, Jin broods about what he's done to the world. Lars broods about his place in the world. Why not Snake, who broods about the state of the world?
The human race will probably come to an end sometime, and new species may rule over this planet. Earth may not be forever, but we still have the responsibility to leave what traces of life we can.
And after all that, there's still another side to him too. Makes him real.
You're wrong. It's just a matter of time.
But first you have to try to understand human emotions, Mei Ling.
And how do I do that?
You have to allow yourself to fall in love with someone.
I wonder, how many characters in the future of Tekken 8 and beyond will trace their lineage back to the single sentence: "It all started with Noctis." Giant sword, multiple swords, throw the sword at you from across the screen guy. He opened up the door to Victor and quite possibly Dante from Devil May Cry, or some DMC rep entering the Tekken fray. No offense to Noctis, who made a successful appearance in Tekken 7, but for Dante or others in the Devil May Cry cast, style is everything while you're doing everything. And everything you do is just fucking loud, heavy, fast, hardcore. It's like whomever invented barbecue. The sauce has no comparison. This series loosely based on / alludes to Paradise Lost by John Milton. Don't worry, we won't be jumping down that rabbit hole today. But the famous line, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven." Yeah, that's from Milton's epic poem. The result of such inspiration, allowing players to slash and shoot their way through bad guys back in 2001 on the PlayStation 2. Assuming control over Dante, son of Sparta, the paranormal mercenary would make Violet and Lars blush at their lack of flair and flash while fighting foes. And that goes for Raven and Reyna as well. There is no end to this perfect marriage of hard-hitting video game anime action. It would not be how to build Dante's attacks in terms of value, but which ones to leave out. Same for Virgil, or another DMC character if they ended up being the rep. We'll mainly talk about Dante though, being the face of the franchise, who has been featured in some fighting games already. His fighting style seems so robust that it is highly flexible in whatever type of environment you want to put the son of Sparta into, to say nothing of what his jump ability would be like. Tekken players, for the most part, don't take kindly to these types of acrobatics. In this way again, it seems plausible his move list would be about limiting what he could do, as opposed to building his abilities out. Going down another path in this line of thinking, Dante doesn't seem like the perfect fit, but more like the Tekken 8 system could be built in entirety around him. He quite easily could have the longest combos or potential move list in the game. Once more, we turn to newcomer Victor. Sword, sword, gun, gun, lift in the air, combo, bang, bang, onomatopoeia. I mean, presto. Top of the guest list. Fans know much of the Devil May Cry action style could fit into the Tekken world, and have made multiple mods for its characters in hopes those mods evolve into full characters someday. The world of Devil May Cry, more so than two brothers just fighting over and over, multifaceted, would be a playpen for the devs to get a hold of its symbolism and rock your face off aesthetics. Dante more than likely as a centerpiece, with his ranged weapons and melee weapons alike, including a motorcycle or motorcycles as, yes, weapons that he wields. No telling what the heat burst, heat smash, and rage art would look like. Though the Devil May Cry rep could be someone else, as no one in this family is lacking style. If it's the franchise's OG, Dante fits an anti-hero theme, in my opinion, with a level of showing up and showing out, only rivaled by Heihachi's Tiger Stripes. We miss you, old man. Can't wait to meet all 17 of your illegitimate kids. How does the lava taste? Check. Dante is arrogant, but backs it up. He uses his demonic powers to protect humanity, but his laid-back nature ensures that he fights for good without the holier-than-thou preachiness that is not sold separately with some typical heroes. I mean, his actions scream hero, but boy does he have to make sure he looks cool while doing so. I can't say it's style over substance, but whatever substance there is, Dante or whomever it would be from DMC is bringing that salsa verde. Capcom and Bandai Namco have worked in the past before on fighters like Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and they also have a cross-platform licensing agreement to aid the online experience for Street Fighter titles, or something like that. This rep has more going for its representation than not. In Devil May Cry, an anime back in 2007, a new anime Netflix show is set to drop in 2024. Again, it bodes well for this whole thing being a possibility, because, as stated before, companies coordinate like products and fandoms to amp up the hype train. Lego and Star Wars, Marvel and Fortnite, Tekken and Devil May Cry. And I mean, come on. There's an edgy teen in all of us, right? At bare minimum, at least once upon a time. I know fans of Tekken may vary in their top picks. I went with who I think are arguably top 3 in a collective fans list. But what are the devs thinking? Let's go with what we know, or as close as we can get with what we've heard. Rumor has it that Harada, the director of the Tekken project, if you didn't know, is a big fan of the game Hades, and that of the character you play, Zagreus. A rumor that simply could have gotten out of hand, as I could not find any direct quotes from Harada stating his affinity for the game. Let's explore this conjecture nonetheless, as it has now entered the minds of the Tekken faithful. So we gotta go way back to a time and place where Lars is apparently not the only child of Zeus. Not by a long shot. Made by Supergiant Games, Hades is a roguelike that is showered in golden acclaim. Just looking at it, you have to wonder, who wouldn't want to play this game? It's beautiful. It is held by some to be one of the greatest games of all time. So why wouldn't you want to add such stock to your shiny new game, testing the fates to achieve its own greatness? Yet for the rules of the roguelike to be morphed into a fighter and put into a versus game, that would take a considerate effort, thoughtful step by step. A challenge the Tekken team may have accepted, as they've surprised a good amount of Tekken players with the direction of Tekken 8 so far. And of course, the question of projectiles rears its head yet again, but it may not be as troublesome as one may initially imagine. 2D abilities in a 3D place translated into 3D Tekken. The devs have successfully, perhaps too successfully, done this before. Holding Zagreus back from breaking out of hell, this venture between Supergiant Games and Bandai Nam would be a first. And in case you haven't noticed, though I know you have, this is pure speculation. But I've heard rumblings, so who knows what can happen when you take shots in the dark. Bad things or bullseye. This character Zagreus, a part of Greek mythology. This is used as a template to reimagine things, as mythologies are oftentimes gleefully butchered, twisted, and entirely altered to tell you something. I remember hearing that often in antiquity, the gods would change personality and morality depending on the story to tell a particular parable, and the story of Hades by Supergiant Games is no different. The stories this game is based on, in this story itself, is sorted as it is complex, in the gods' highly dysfunctional retelling of How I Met Your Mother. I mean your father. Zagreus is the son of Zeus and Persephone. Sometimes, Zagreus is the son of Hades and Persephone. sometimes. Now, if you think Heihachi may enter stage left right about now, you might be onto something. We found another one of your kids, you old bastard. Zagreus himself, in a version of his own story, is dismembered by other gods as a boy and brought back to life by Zeus. Hence, he is heavily associated with death and rebirth. In the game Hades, where he reaches the surface to die over and over again.
Welcome to the House of Hades, where... Wait, I know you. Guess that means you died out there, huh? Well, don't be sad, though. Pretty much everybody dies sometime.
There's a determination and charm about him that I think easily places the Prince of the Underworld under the hero theme, at least in this version of the story.
Hey, Room, I'm back.
The bedchambers of Prince Zagreus lie in a perpetual state of utter disarray, despite his lord and master of the house repeatedly insisting that he pick everything up.
Oh, come on, it's not that bad, is it?
Hades 2, expected to arrive sometime in 2024, is another opportunity for synergy. Hades, Greek mythos, Zagreus, having to escape the underworld over and over again.
However long it takes.
However long it takes.
Interesting, but no facts and very little evidence for an escape to Tekken 8. I know for a fact a Tekken game developer wouldn't mind these next two characters being a part of Tekken. Okay, I had to make a decision here. Perhaps major spoilers for Tekken 8's guest list ahead. I recall a particular conversation in a peculiar video. Should I talk about it or not? I'm choosing to, because it can still be wrong, not written in stone speculation. Again, potential spoilers ahead. Okay, first character, not well known, but respected by those who do, is Go Hinagami from Virtua Fighter. My apologies in advance if I really did a bit too good of a detective job on this one, but I distinctly recall a conversation where the game director of Tekken said he'd like to see Go in a Tekken game, but he would change him, make him more Tekken-like. That may very well mean a highly technical character like Steve Fox, a fundamental fighter like Kazumi, or the high pyrotechnics of Tekken 8. This statement said in a video that has been vaulted. It could be for reasons outside the scope of Tekken that I won't go into in this video, or has it been hidden away due to community members jumping to solidified conclusions as opposed to mere, though fun, speculation, like I'm doing here today. In any event, Go, without being pyrotechnically altered, is a fighter for fighting game puritans, a salt of the earth practitioner of judo, mixed with hella crazy. Hailing from another 3D fighter, the assimilation of Go into Tekken is to place a mirror in front of another. They reflect each other, with Go bringing a moveset that is dynamic as it is innovative. He seemingly has some pretty scummy checks that look to have great advantage on hit. A Sabaki, for those who have stumbled upon this video not knowing much about fighting games, is an attack that parries/circumvents an opponent's strike and hits them instead. I originally thought, upon an adrenalized first glance, that Go was loaded with these Sabaki type attacks, but I realized these are clinch grab/chain grabs and other things like a throw reversal that allows him to clinch his opponents and throw them. These actions centered around what's called Tsukami. In Tsukami Geishi, he has attack strings that go into Tsukami clinch, and these catch throws, something that you don't see in Tekken every day, provides Go with a mix-up of what damage he can do to his enemies after the catch. It's judo, right? so he can grab crouching opponents, grounded opponents. He reminds me of Ginryu, Dragunov, and Bruce Irving, for those who are longtime Tekken fans. Go being under the Sega umbrella, Bandai Namco, and Sega and Nintendo are set to work together on a 3DS game. And Sony is rumored to partner with Sega and Bandai to bring back some classic intellectual properties from the dead. So all these shoulders have bumped against each other and hands have shaken before. The thing working against this is Gull not being a household name. In fact, he's quite an obscure character, which means people would never see it coming. Unless you watch this video. Out for revenge for the death of his father, I hear Go has a reserved personality, when not being a vicious assassin trained by a shadowy organization that taunts his opponents while he beats them to death. To say nothing of collateral damage. And death is what he's bringing, as he is tasked to kill every other character in the Virtua Fighter franchise. Making it safe to say he is a villain, but his revelry in causing others pain seems like it's just worse on top of bad. So maybe more than just a villain, like a chaotic evil, fitting in with the likes of Kazuya Mishima and Brian Fury just fine. Where his personality exactly falls on the evil scale may be a bit difficult to pinpoint, but in terms of his fighting style, Go looks everything traditional Tekken with an overwhelming helping of chaotic judo. And sifting through the character for this vid, I have become highly intrigued by the possibility of Go being in Tekken 8. It would be a hell of a thing for the most Tekken fighter to be a character outside of Tekken in a way. The other character that might be on the other end of the Tekken martial arts spectrum, and still spoilers, Ryuji Yamazaki from the Fatal Fury and King of Fighters series. The sociopath that other sociopaths could only aspire to be. The tragic story of a Yakuza gone mad. Not every fighting game character has a powerful story. A tale of the consequences of wanton violence. Ryuji Yamazaki's story definitely fits the bill. Now, if you're unfamiliar with this character, but you're aware of King of Fighters or Fatal Fury, I know what you must be thinking. Projectiles. Besides being able to reflect projectiles, Ryuji Yamazaki doesn't use fireballs, missiles, or so much as a gun, as far as I can tell. The Japanese gangster does use a knife from time to time though, taught to him by his boss/surrogate father. He will cut enemies up something awful. And I will say this a couple of times, but this boy's so crazy. Fights with one hand in his pocket most of the time. This too was brought on by his father figure, who saw the strength and power Ryuji can generate in a fight with his right hand, and told him to use it as an ace in the hole, only when necessary. This is something Ryuji still does to this day, as not only his big gun, so to speak, but as a way to honor his boss. As at 15 years old, Ryuji witnessed the man who brought him up through the Yakuza ranks as a son be tortured and murdered in front of him. The trauma caused by this horrific event altered Ryuji's personality, one being of a smooth, organized criminal in organized crime, and the other, raging, unpredictable violence given a vessel. Apparently not a fan of martial arts, but rather combative homicide, Ryuji is a dirty street fighter. Blood sports, sand in the eyes, salt in the wound, stomp you out, cut you up, bite your face, skull your head, and send you to the moon if you get in the way of that godlike right hand. The left hand, though, is like a multi-Oscar winning actor. It has a lot of range. Thrown so fast it looks like it's not connected to his body, extending like a whip for hella mega distance. Snake-like, I guess this type of attack can serve in the stead of a projectile, but this would be a beautiful clash of styles coming together. Long-range attacks like this in Tekken would certainly come with some sort of weaknesses. Theoretically speaking, of course. So no fireballs, just inputs like this. Perhaps not all is lost for Geese Howard players. And who knows how Ryuji would jump. Maybe he'll be altered into a more traditional Tekken way of leaving the ground. Whichever way he fights, Ryuji's biggest asset is not any type of karate, but the crazy. This boy's so crazy. Immune to something called the Riot of the Blood, which makes other characters in a certain bloodline go mad. It's because he's already a couple of tacos short of a combo plate that he is unaffected. It reminds me of an old comedy skit where characters look into a bucket of truth, immutable, unadulterated truth. Everyone who looks inside the bucket of truth goes crazy, except for this one freaking guy because he's already f***ing crazy. So the truth of life in the universe doesn't scare him at all. Well, in The King of Fighters, that's this guy. This man is a pure, made by the brokenness of the world, sociopath. And his wonderful, beautiful, brutal fighting style shows it. A waster boy from nothing turned crime lord in China. He ain't no good guy. In fact, not only did he butcher the guys who killed his father figure, but when their younger sibling showed up for revenge, he just laughs in their faces. He toys with his opponents, he laughs at the other people in his cursed bloodline, but his violent narcissism doesn't seem to go out of its way to involve innocent people. He is not all amoral. There's a story of him saving a girl from being hit by a car, and another of him giving a homeless man some money for whatever reason. So instead of plain villain, chaotic neutral maybe? Lunatic fringe? I mean, even when he hasn't lost all his marbles, he's still pretty erratic and self-serving. Dark Triad, fitting in with Kazuya and Devil Jin maybe? But Tekken has walked this villain type of path before, so maybe none of the guest character stuff will be themed this time around. Not just another crazy, but one that, like their personality, could paint their violence in many colors. If you happen to see this man do some morally ambiguous act that doesn't seem to make any sense at all, it's because it doesn't. This boy's so crazy. This man eats crowns and kicks ass, and he's all out of crowns. This type of character, introduced into Tekken, I can dig it. I mean, someone's gotta give Kazuya's drip a run for its money, right? Here's another quote that you may end up saying often. Because of Negan. How did that guy know? Some precog telepathy or something? But that Negan rep opened up the door to damn near everybody, everywhere, Shaggy included. Which makes it very difficult to pick a viable, probable character off a large table of fiction. But I'ma throw a couple names at you anyway, like Makoto from Street Fighter. First appearance was in Street Fighter 3, Third Strike, and her last was in Street Fighter 4. Ryu's little sister. Or sometimes mistaken for a younger sibling, this 5'2" fiery tomboy is a karate fighter player's dream come true. Rindo-Kan Karate in particular, unique to the Street Fighter universe and based on an aspect of karate that entails something called Ikan Hisasu, meaning total victory with one hit or to annihilate at one blow. She just seems like she would be such a blast to play. Fast, powerful strikes, big on close quarters combat, and a command grab called Karakusa. This throw is so hype. She can combo after this grab, hoisting throat thrust, say that 10 times fast, creating the best of advantageous situations for herself. And though she slow walks, she has a quick dash, allowing her to get in and grab after an opponent's whiffing attack. Between that and a chop down strike and an air punch for distinctive looking combos, I get such a great vibe. She would vibe in Tekken. Oh, and this move right here would definitely be an orbital. Unlike players trying to make you the sucker at a poker table, absolutely zero worries of any weird energy coming at you. No energy spheres or cross the screen shenanigans. Makoto purposely made to practice a more down-to-earth, though fictional style of Japanese karate, as opposed to an Americanized karate of the Fireball brothers Ryu and Ken. Closest thing Makoto has to this type of action is this beautiful dash punch that I'm a fan of seeing in fighting games. Hers called Hayate. You've seen this sound of the wind punch before. Similar to some others, it won't be lost on some Tekken fans how much Makoto may remind you of Lydia, who seems to remind people of Rika Osami, a real-life karate master. The Lydia comparison nonetheless may be meaningful in that Lydia having a great chance of making it back to the Tekken roster, some conference that's supposed to take place in New York with world leaders. In regard to taking on Kazuya's terrorism, I would expect Lydia to be present for such an event in DLC somewhere along the way. Though I could be wrong, if correct, there would be yet another hard-hitting female to stand aside Reina as well, who comes off as more tomboyish than other female characters of the cast. This may hurt Makoto's chances the most, as there's already a character, if not a few, like her. However, she can be the same, but different, like the Williams sisters, or Phantom Raven and Raven here. Similarities between those with Mishima blood. I'd say there's plenty of room for this deservingly cherished, polished gem of a video game character, because those familiar things are only surface level. The more I investigated her style of fighting, the more I investigated her, I discovered that she is, what word do I say here? Idiosyncratic. Street Fighter fans love her, and there's no doubt in my mind Tekken players would as well. Not just looking for a fight, not running around and challenging the likes of Ryu and Fei Long to battle for revenge or for her own personal glory, but rather to restore the honor of her father's dojo and place her family style of fighting back on the map, like trying to save a rec center back in an 80s movie. Willing to put in the hard work to achieve her goals while learning life lessons along the way. This is a character you start an adventure with. The hero tag fitting here, cue the notable story of her Street Fighter IV ending. Winning the tournament, but failing to secure any money, she decides to rebuild her father's broken down dojo herself, brick by brick. Looking at her move list, this pick would be for those who like that hard-hitting Tekken, weaved around a traditional-looking, though albeit made-up martial arts, with a gi and all. And perhaps some of her moveset is somewhere buried in the coded relics of the Tekken X Street Fighter graveyard. You may recall, as I mentioned earlier, Street Fighter X Tekken, which features the Tekken cast in a 2D Street Fighter world. We saw a glimpse of what Tekken X Street Fighter, that is the Street Fighter cast in a 3D fighting space with Akuma and Aliza. But again, Makoto is completely projectileless and would be the perfect candidate to consider out of the Street Fighter cast, and I can easily imagine her fitting right in with this lot. With the Tekken game director theoretically opening up the door by considering characters that are lesser known than Makoto, who outside of fighting game fans may not be very known herself. The projected guest list roster may be even more open-ended in variety, whether the characters are obscure or not. Keeping that in mind, let's look at two characters that have very much carved out a place in pop culture. Mortal Kombat's Scorpion and Sub-Zero. set on fire by a flame skull. Body beaten to a bloody pulp into explosive death, Scorpion and Sub-Zero have been dispatching foes in some of the most gruesome and memorable ways since 1992. 2D fighters who've been 3D before, how could they work in this Tekken game in its 3D space? Scorpion could teleport, much like Raven, or Phantom Raven, or Master Raven, to the same side of the screen he's already on, as opposed to an odd blocking situation being stuck in back-turn stance. This action may otherwise create for his opponent, and he can already teleport to the same side in some Mortal Kombat games. Things like Sub-Zero's slide can work in the exact same way it does now, or it could be a launcher, like a slide is for some characters in Tekken 7 already. Same could be applied for that MK1 sledgehammer of his, a nice launching overhead mid. Man, the sound effects of that thing are so good. Just listen to it. For those who don't know, this iteration of Sub-Zero isn't as strong as the others before him, but I don't care. That sound is everything to me. I'm playing this guy every day, all day. Scorpion's absolutely iconic kunai with chain could be punishable when blocked from distance. Kind of like Kazumi throwing a f***ing tiger at you in Tekken 7. Lars can reach out and make her pay for this attack. Or like I've said previously, put the projectile at the end of the attack string, like a punish attack around 15 frames or so. Weave it into the move list this way. And of course, if Scorpion or Sub-Zero complete the string on its own and it's blocked, it's like Kazuya's Flash Punch combo. In translation, one game to the other, I think that works quite well, honestly. Ice Ball could also be a part of an attack string, like it can be cancelled into now in Mortal Kombat games, implemented in a likeness of a crumple or retreating happy feet. Ice Clone armor for Sub-Zero's, well, armor move, and Fire Skeleton for Scorpions. Mortal Kombat games traditionally having less moves than Tekken, and changing the normal attacks from game to game instead of keeping lots of legacy moves like Tekken does, Scorpion and Sub-Zero could have a robust movie. Combining attack strings, fans have taken a liking to over the years. All of these things together would instantly make them the most popular kids in school, perhaps getting some folks who play Tekken to try MK and vice versa. The knock on this is Mortal Kombat has been banned in some countries in the past and still is to this day in some places. So this I try your game, you try my game, unfortunately, would not apply to everybody. Though like others, there are skin mods for these guys as well in Tekken, which means there is verifiable crossover and fanfare ripe for the taking. And Tekken would be a great testing ground for a new era 3D Mortal Kombat and MK characters within a bloodless system, as both of these things, outside of this proposed experiment, seem like absolute no-nos, just because it would be so different.
Do you enjoy pain? Do you not trust me?
Hero, villain, or otherwise, very much depends on the timeline when it comes to these two.
Your hearing is failing, Sub-Zero.
Was that necessary, brother?
To put him in his place.
You'll confess what you've long denied. That your clan's hands are soaked in Shirai Ryu blood? In the blood of my family?
A lie. Because you couldn't and still can't face the truth. Harumi and Satoshi was stolen from me. Murdered.
Our story ends here, Sub-Zero. Speak your mind. I do not wish to linger here.
I recognized your footsteps, Hanzo.
I'm with you. Thank you. We may not share blood, but we are brothers.
As they might just have the most "it's complicated" love-hate relationship outside of a soap opera and the Spider-Man meme painted as "it's your fault, not mine," pointing fingers. From game to game, MK combatants kill a category of all kinds of killer cuts to crazy cousins. Alright, I'ma say this instead. From game to game, NetherRealm makes their characters very expressive. And I'm not talking about the stuff I can't put on the screen. I mean just their normal attacks and reimagined specials. Both Scorpion and Sub-Zero will be arriving at Tekken in time to have just the right amount of flair. It would be lightning versus ice, ice versus fire, icons versus icons.
Sub-Zero wins.
And I'm here for it.
Scorpion wins.
Before we get out of here, let's look at some honorable mentions and out of left fields. I have a Patreon. It is the best way to support the channel. I promise you, content costs money, time, and energy, and this helps alleviate all three. So if you have $1.99, I prompt you to contribute $1.99. Become a part of the new wave. I also have Venmo and Cash App on deck below in the description. If not, no worries. You could be watching anything on YouTube, and the fact that you're here with me, I highly appreciate you tuning in. Believe me. Alright, let's go. Kiryu, no Tekken for you because the creator has stated that Kazuma would never hit a woman. Honorable mention because the fan base still brings him up. The Guyver, as a part of an 80s Japanese action film theme. Action horror theme maybe? I mean, it's the same guy. I mean this guy, who plays this guy, played this guy. Ver. So f***ing stupid. Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden. Not to be confused with this guy from Virtua Fighter. You can play this one in Dead or Alive, not Virtua Fighter. In this one in Virtua Fighter, not Dead or Alive or Ninja Gaiden. Hope that clears that up. Vash the Stampede or Gene Starlin as an anime throwback theme. I'm here for it. Baki Hanma. Some fans really seem to want this one, so he's gonna go into honorable mention. Arcane. Possible to get a League of Legends rep. Jinx, Vi, Echo. Getting people ready for Project L somewhere down the line. Kenny Omega. A real life wrestler. Like, he's a man. Like, literally, he's a real person. Longtime fan, and fans of Kenny know he's a Tekken fan and are a fan of him joining the cast. Axel from Streets of Rage. Because besides pure unfiltered dopeness, this is one of my favorite video game characters of all time. Squall Lionheart, my personal favorite Final Fantasy character. I know, I said it, I'm crazy, so what? But Gun Blade fits just fine in Tekken right now. Strider Hiryu, super cool, super sleek, hand to glove fits Tekken 8. Still though, it's out of left field. A DBZ rep, Vegeta, Goku, Trunks, one of those guys. Honorable mention because it's DBZ. Enough said. Laucorn from Fatal Fury the motion picture. Don't sleep on this guy. He is a good villain. Suria. You will make me kill your little friend. Someone from the Dead or Alive cast? It's a fighting game to help bring back from the dead. Charity work. A competitive fighting game community is a healthy fighting game community, don't you know? Hayato Kanzaki, another one, another cool one, who would undoubtedly fit the Tekken 8 style. Star Gladiator, Plasma Sword is welcome. Out of left field though. I'ma mention John Wick because why wouldn't I? Feeling right at home with Gun Kata as an honorable mention. Also played by a real person like Jeffrey Dean Morgan plays Negan, or Vincent Castle as the voice of Victor. Perhaps Tekken is going more in this direction. Genos from One Punch Man, fitting that robot anime aesthetic Tekken 8 seemingly has fully embraced. Or Jin Satome, because he just looks like he belongs to the Tekken 8 universe. But no rhyme or reason as to why it would be him instead of a Marvel vs. Capcom superstar. I could do this forever, or almost, according to the runtime of this video. But you tell me, your wish list character? Probable guest character you think will make it in? Honorable mentions and out of left fields, and we'll all see how wrong we are with a full lapse of 8 years. Our own little video game time capsule. Subscribe to the New Wave while you're here, as we, along with Tekken 8, are here for the fight. Laters.
TRD 10 9 8 7 6 5 4 3 2 1 0.
Oh no! Stop. I didn't really mean it when I said that. And anyway, I don't really understand why you should keep on doing this.
Because I'm a dumb peel. I don't get to have a life.